Hi, how do you feel about like mounting up stuff and stuff and stuff and then don't know what to do with it? I'm sure you have been in one of those situations. Maybe even you have a company and you have a warehouse and stuff is just stacking up and you just don't know what to do with it. It's just catching dust and just creating losses basically. Well, actually, that's what my next guest is doing in a different way, maybe, or in a more digitalized, in a cooler way. Her name is Stephanie Benedetto, and she has founded the platform Queen of Raw, where she takes excess inventory from companies and they create a marketplace where actually those materials can still keep circulate and by that contribute to a circular economy. So I want you to enjoy our next talk. We will hear how she started the business and what the business can do, how much CO2 they save, and how much money you can make by becoming climate neutral. Have fun. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Meeting with Changemakers. Today, I have the pleasure to say hi to Stephanie Benedetto in New York. Am I right?
You are right. If the accent doesn't give it away, although I swear I don't have one, but glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I saw Stephanie on a sustainability symposium in Dallas. I think it was 2 years ago. That's how I got notice of what she's doing under the name of Queen of Raw. So already that gets my attention. So maybe you can tell us a little bit who you are and how did you come up with that name? Did you crown yourself queen or somebody called you queen?
Well, thank you so much. The goal is to get attention to these very important economic and environmental issues, that's for sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Benedetto, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Queen of Raw. We are a software company that helps businesses small to large take action on all their excess inventory, raw materials to finished goods, with reuse, resale, and recycle initiatives. And in that way, you keep it out of landfill and turn what would be pollution into profit. And that's very close to everything going on in the world. And right, matters today more than ever. I know, Philip, you're very aware of these issues. In terms of the name, it was the first name we ever thought of. And it kind of resonated with us. Obviously, we want to empower everyone to be the kings and queens of their domain, right? And at the same time, raw materials, but also things that are raw and at their essence. And that is what we do. And we prefer that to the word sustainable for reasons we could talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first name we ever thought of. And it was available as a .com. It was available as all of these handles on social media, which is not always easy to get. And a lot of people, when we first told them the name, they thought about the raw foods movement. And I said, okay, the raw foods movement obviously sells, and we want what we're doing to be sticky and sell. And so we stuck with it, and it has served us well to this day. And we've had fun with the branding. So hopefully it's one you won't forget, right?
Definitely not. Yeah, so before we dive into the company and what you're doing and how the technology is working that you're using and how you're transforming industries that way, how did you get into the field of, I still call it sustainability, or let's call it circularity or regeneration. So how did you get into this field of sustainability? Any kind of special events in your life or just depressing everything?
I was a Wall Street attorney by trade. And at the time, it was very exciting building companies, watching them grow, watching them hire, taking them public. And then in 08 and 09, the market crashed. And very similar to some of what's going on around the world today with pandemics and trade wars and recessions, there was this height of waste and greed and excess. And I kind of took that as my opportunity to go out, meet people in this space, and try to go build businesses and change the world. And I had a prior startup to Queen of Raw where we invented a new leather alternative. And we were manufacturing this really incredible, innovative, sustainable material. But as we were building that business, kind of realized the world doesn't need more new. It needs to use these resources that are already out there. I would go to all these factories and mills and warehouses and companies around the world and see all this perfectly good stuff, perfectly good raw materials, perfectly good finished goods, just sitting in warehouses collecting dust, are going to be burned or sent to landfill. And, that doesn't make sense for people and planet, but it also makes zero sense for a business's profit. So why are we allowing this to go on, right? And I took that as my opportunity to really dive deeper into this issue of excess inventory management, solving supply chain inefficiency and waste today, and then taking the good money you save and make and go build and do better things for tomorrow. And that's what kind of led to the original idea. Met my co-founder at the time at General Assembly in New York. It's a great place for innovative technologies and leaders and thinkers in the space. We sat down at Starbucks and started mapping out on a napkin what this solution would look like, how we could solve for all this supply chain waste and really efficiently match the world's supply and demand. And never looked back since then. So it's been an exciting time to innovate in this space, but that really is what started this movement for us back in 2014 through 2018 in circular economy.
That was my question ahead. When did you start? So this started in 2014, more or less, when you changed from being an attorney and then going into this field?
Yeah, we started looking at this field and this space. And at the time, as I'm sure you can imagine, it was early, right? People were just starting to look at and think about sustainability, hire corporate directors of social responsibility, but it was early and we knew that. And so we took our time to think about when was the right time and opportunity and learn as much as we could from prospective customers. And then in 2018, we officially launched Queen of Raw. And we launched it as a marketplace. It was a B2B platform for businesses, small to large, to be able to buy and sell their unused raw material waste. And there were a lot of great companies out there. If you think of StockX, ThreadUp, the Real, Poshmark, focused on finished goods and one at a time reselling it and keeping it in circulation longer. But we realized there's a huge opportunity here to do this at scale for large enterprise B2B companies and keep metric tons of waste, saving them millions of dollars out of landfill around the world. And so we started as a marketplace and started learning about, well, why is nobody else doing this, right? And it started really hitting a note in the market. And as we started growing the marketplace, we started growing it globally and with larger and larger customers. And for the larger enterprises, as I'm sure you can imagine, it's great to have a platform to resell their unused stuff, save and make them some money, but there's a lot more you can do for them. For them to be able to do this automated at scale around the world, we needed to provide them with the tools to be able to do this quickly, easily, and cost effectively. And so that has led to our MateriaMX enterprise software, which is now really a big focus of how we not only solve the waste problem today, but help them build more resilient, risk-mitigated supply chains for tomorrow.
Super cool. Just one question. Why is it that in the beginning, maybe you were associated more with fashion? And it's not really just circular fashion you're talking about, because you're talking about all kinds of materials. Inventory, did you start in the fashion or textile industry and then it spread out?
We did start. I have a family background, had been in textiles for over 100 years in manufacturing, so understood the power of fashion and textile supply chains, but also understood firsthand the waste and the inefficiency. And it seemed like a good place to start. Fast fashion is an incredibly powerful industry that moves very fast. And obviously, we're all part of the problem. We're all part of the solution, and they generate a lot of waste. And little known fact, textile production, by some accounts, is the #2 polluter in the world of clean water globally. And so, that was a powerful opportunity to show that fashion and textiles, if we do things right, can save and make these companies hundreds of millions to billions of dollars while also solving the world's water crisis. So it was a powerful place to start, but we always knew that the long-term vision was that what would it look like for industries around the world, beyond just fashion, to be able to leverage each other's resources. They also have raw material waste that can be identified, monetized, and minimized. But then they can also leverage each other's resources to fill the supply-demand gaps that are going on, especially in today's world more than ever. And that to us is really the power behind our MateriaMX software and how we grow and scale and solve these world problems.
Yeah, it's super cool. Just the fact that the marketplace can basically solve this market failure, because in the way you're thinking about circular economy, then you think, okay, one sector has access and the other maybe could use it as an input, but they don't know of each other. So like you said, the materials just go into the landfill, and and the businesses also have less access to resources. And you mentioned the benefits for, let's say, publishing company or selling companies on the platform, but have you also talked about the buyers? Because maybe they have much better access to resources, faster, easier, cheaper, or what are the benefits for the buyers?
You hit the nail on the head. Reducing material costs by 60% or more, finding what you need when you need it, readily available, away from areas impacted by disruption, and having a powerful circular economy story to tell. But that's just buyers and that's just sellers. The network effects and the real value of the software, beyond just a marketplace matching buyers and sellers, is actually enabling everyone to participate in the circular economy. And so this is about what would it look like for a company, now that you know you have this waste, to reuse it internally. And then, okay, some stuff you can't reuse internally, you can resell it. But let's be real, not everything can be resold. Maybe it's past a shelf life, or maybe it's proprietary. And what does it look like to be able to recycle it and donate it? And so giving these companies this one-stop shop to be able to do all of these activities in one place with the click of a button, that is really powerful. And something else I just wanted to note on the concept of a resale marketplace. They are very valuable, and there are a lot of them now and growing around the world for different use cases. But if you think about it, giving businesses and individuals a place to resell waste and make some money, it's great. It does keep it out of landfill, and you can measure the environmental and economic impact. But we wanted to take it a step further. Now that we have all of this enterprise data, what does it look like to actually help them intelligently minimize their waste going forward? Because waste is expensive. It's inefficient. It makes zero business sense. And so to actually read data and use intelligence, leveraging machine learning, AI, and blockchain to actually build better business tomorrow, that I think is the true power of where we're going. And that's why when we look at the words that people are using out there around sustainability, we actually prefer circular economy, because the second word in that is economy. It is an economic principle. And to actually be able to drive real business results that are profitable while being good for people and planet, how do you say no to that, right? And that's really what we want to get to. Just to give you one quick use case, one of our Fortune 500 companies came to us and wanted to leverage our software to help them manage all this excess around the world. And in a matter of weeks, with the click of a button, they were able to centralize all this data and take action across Asia on 15 metric tons of unused inventory. We successfully, through resale and recycling operations, kept 95% out of it landfill and incineration, while saving them over $4 million in annual holding costs alone. Right. And so I just want people to realize this is how we do this, automated, at scale, and together we can move mountains.
Wow, no, I'm really impressed. It's super cool. And more questions on the beginning. No, like how did you solve the challenges now of access to funding? Was it then people ran to you and say, "Hey, this is so cool"? But I imagine the opposite is true. You had to knock lots of doors, right?
One would always like it to be easy, but we wouldn't be entrepreneurs and we wouldn't be world thinkers, problem solvers, and innovating in a new space if we weren't doing things differently while meeting our customers where they are. And so to get started, we had a very exciting opportunity. We were given 60 seconds to pitch Ashton Kutcher, Gary Vee, and P. Diddy on stage in front of a live studio audience. And we had to convince them in those 60 seconds why they should invest in our business and why we were the ones to solve this problem. So usually you have your investor and customer pitch in, a 30-minute version, then a 10-minute version, maybe even a 3-minute version, but a 60-second one, that was one of the hardest but most valuable things we ever did as a business. We fortunately won, which was an incredible opportunity, and that really helped kick off our business. And there's still a lot of those parts of that 60-second pitch that we go back to today to orient who we are, what we're doing, how we can manage and solve this excess inventory waste problem, and also solve the world's water crisis.
Super cool. Do you still know the 60 seconds pitch?
I do still know it. I've done it many times. I can do it, but if you Google it, it is very out there as well.
Okay, no, I will put it in later
And
on in the description. That's fine.
yeah, I'll give you the link. It's a
That's
lot of
cool.
fun.
Yeah, please. Yeah, so let's talk about a bit technology, because really it's a double-edged sword, no? Like I see it also a lot of data around it in science. I've been researching the topic lately a lot. I'm a digital nomad in a way, so technology is around me everywhere, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is, and I'm also on the permaculture side, a lot looking into nature-based solutions, which is maybe the opposite in a way, no? And the idea of circular economy is great, like inspired by nature, circulating everything, but we see that we need technology. But technology creates an impact itself. No, you mentioned blockchain, data. I see on the website you talk about cloud services. They create a substantial footprint. What kind of mechanisms do you have in the software to minimize the footprint? Do you look at the computing, the programming already? Do you
Yes.
monitor them? Question.
No, very valid question. And it's very important to us to be able to measure and report on the economic and the environmental impact of the work we do. And so when we look at what we're doing and the excess inventory that is being reused, resold, recycled, and donated across our software exchange, we measure that footprint. We spent the past 2 years with MIT and the United Nations building algorithms in order to measure very specifically, based on those activities that are happening across our software, what that footprint is. And you're exactly right. It isn't just about the raw materials and finished goods and the activity that they're being used for and saved. It is also all about the shipping logistics, right? And any of the computing information and how we're measuring the blockchain and cloud computing. So we're able to measure and report the water, chemicals, carbon emissions, waste, and dollars saved. And we do offset those costs and carbon emissions from shipping and computing and blockchain activities. Very important to us. The good news is that technology is getting better every day. And so we come out with a net positive, and we continue to bring more efficiency and hosting and server abilities to our global solution in order to bring those efficiencies as well. But very important and very valid consideration. We want to have a positive impact across, and have to look at all the intended and unintended consequences of the actions that people take.
Question for public interest. Is that algorithm accessible? The information how because sometimes exactly the calculating, the conversion of, let's say, 1 hour streaming into CO2 is not as straightforward as 1 gallon of diesel oil, because it has been researched so long, no? But the streaming of different platforms, you can't just say, okay, it's 7 grams or 8 grams, 5 grams. It's not so straightforward. So is it possible to access that information of that MIT?
Yeah, so we are opening up, and we want to democratize access to our technologies. Obviously, we have what's proprietary to us, but we want to offer this solution to others. So it is currently being audited by Deloitte, among others. There is methodology and science behind it, and then we will be publishing some white papers to open up how we do what we do and how others can leverage this tool and use it to their benefit as well, while being very transparent about what is actually going on. That's in furtherance of the circle and the circular economy, and we want to be an integral part of that across industries and around the world. Absolutely. No,
nice.
Very important.
No, because if you talk about digital sustainability, no, they transfer the same idea of making it accessible, what we have now, for future generations. So even thinking about digital knowledge, digital goods, algorithms, which are important for men, or for mankind, or for humans, these kind of algorithms are highly valuable for society. No, so this is great that you decide that you make it public, because in general the incentive is not to make it public, create the rents and keep it for yourself. No, so super cool.
No, and we have an incredible CTO and co-founder, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, Phil D'Erasmo, and he has an incredible background in environmental engineering, worked for the Department of Environmental Protection, doing water pollutant loading and looking at pollution reduction and water quality in New York. And so really had a great background in this. At the same time, he had also worked at Citibank and knew how to aggregate data and centralize information from around the world to help drive real results. And so that combination, I think, has been very powerful for us in how we think about our algorithms, how we think about what we're doing, and drive the right result for the future together. And I think about all the time, I'm doing this for my children. I want them to have clean water to drink, right? Clothes that aren't toxic to wear and a planet to live on. And I'm not stopping. I know my team's not stopping until we do. And those results and reading those impacts that we have every day, that's what keeps us going.
I can imagine. So to wrap it up a bit, thinking about the challenges to really make everything circular, what would you identify? And first question, and the second question would be, what are the advices or the tips for somebody who says, I would like to become more circular? So those are the two last questions I have for you today.
Great question. Well, when you think of that word circular economy, as we mentioned, it can feel overwhelming. And a lot of companies, small to large, want to be more circular because it makes business sense as well as environmental sense. But where do you go and what do you do on day one, right? How do you know how to start? And so we think, obviously, from our point of view, solving for the excess inventory, your waste problem, it's a perfect place to start on day one. It's inventory you already have. It's costing you money and personnel and operations to store in a warehouse. And you can actually find it, monetize it, and free up that valuable warehouse space. Then take the money you save and make by doing that and put it back into doing good work in your supply chain. Then you can pay your workers more. You can use more innovative, sustainable materials. And you can do it without your overall CapEx expenditures going up. So to me, that's a great place to start on day one, to not feel overwhelmed by, needing to be perfect or go from farm to finished good to end of life and around again. That's the ultimate goal. Technology can get us there, but you got to start very clear and simply on day one. And as individual, at the end of the day, of course, what we do is a lot around businesses, but we are people and individuals. And so the small acts that you take every day with your own behaviors, your own reusing, reselling, recycling, and donating, when you add that up around the world, can have a massive impact. And we all want to be a part of the solution together. So happy to have anyone reach out and to support in your initiatives and leverage our software so we can all be connected and do more faster and have a bigger impact together.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining today and answering all my questions. Hope to see you again with more success stories. All the best to you.
Thank you. Looking forward to go change the world, everyone.